already exists, so you can find those resources there. So with that, I am going to toss it over to Kathy.
Great. Thanks so much, Megan, and thanks, everyone, for joining us. Today's webinar to learn more about the Challenge Schools opportunity, and it's really all about challenging the network to join us to reach more students. And this slide illustrates our big giant theory of change that is articulated in our strategic plan, Operation Next, and I know everybody on the call has memorized it. If you haven't read it in a while, we'd encourage you to take a look at the language in the strategic plan, and it really lays out what we're hoping to accomplish over the next several years. The years that it covers is 2018 to 2022. Can hardly believe 2018 is almost in the rear view mirror. But if you read the slide, it's all about us investing in organizational stability, sustainability, continuing improve the quality of our work, and innovate new ways of helping students and grow quality. If we do that, then every school district and national charter management organization in the highest need in America will have access to integrated student supports inside schools. So our efforts are really here to help amplify, support your deep engagement with the educational systems in your communities, and we hope that the vision and framework that's laid out in Operation Next really helps to support our ability to amplify each other's ability to partner deeply with the school districts across the nation so that every student who needs ISS gets ISS. And we know on average over the last several years we've served about 1.5 million students, and there's over 13 million students in poverty across the country. So we know we have a ways to go to increase our footprint across the nation. This slide we love because it gives us the gears and the idea of motion, and it illustrates the three strategic pillars of the strategic plan: sustain, deepen, and grow. It outlines our 5 big goals that are articulated in the plan, from enhancing operations, driving greater impact, diversifying revenue, creating favorable policy environments. And that one that's circled in the yellow highlighter up on the upper right-hand corner is all about expanding reach. Those 5 strategic goals are 9 initiatives, and this opportunity fits squarely in the number 7 there, incentivizing growth. We initially had this outlined as a initiative that wouldn't start until 2021 because we thought we needed a whole lot of time to raise the resources to be able to put out a request for proposals as we're doing now. But we were very fortunate to engage with funder that is helping us incentivize this growth a whole lot earlier than we thought. So really pleased to be able to offer this and accelerate the growth way faster than we thought we would. And so you can go to the next slide, and what we're going to be able to do, we're going to be able to, with this opportunity, it's our hope and desire to reach 125 schools, and we think it's conservative that we'll reach over 62,000 students in 125 schools. The original initiative outlined only 100 schools, but we've got resources to get us into 125. And it's all about, this opportunity is all about that growth initiative and supporting CS model implementation and really getting additional schools that are implementing the model so that we can see and continue to see if the evidence that we've already have about implementing the model with fidelity allows us to achieve the results that we've been able to demonstrate in the past around attendance, behavior, and course performance, to see if that bears out and to see if it also bears out in terms of the school-wide outcomes that we've been able to see when the model is implemented with fidelity. And again, this is all about the growth initiative within our existing footprint. There's a lot of other opportunities for us to grow across the country that are articulated in the plan, but this is one of our major initiatives to make sure that we're incentivizing growth and in partnering with the network in order to reach more students with high-quality integrated student supports.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, so let's dive into some of the basics of the RFP. So in terms of award amount, we're looking at a range here. So anywhere from $650,000 all the way up to $1.7 million is available per application for the whole 3-year period of the grant. So funding amount is going to be based upon the applicant's site cost model. So you'll see in the application there is a section designated just to outlining your site costs. We are anticipating awarding between 8 and 20 awards. The applicants can be a local affiliate or state office. State office can apply on behalf of their affiliate network, or if the state office does direct service, they can also apply. These are CIS organizations that are accredited or in the process of accreditation. And then service delivery is required in school year 1920. So we are expecting direct service to be delivered in that first year of the grant. In terms of expansion school sites, these can range anywhere between 6 and 15 new school sites. So a minimum of 6 is required, and we're funding all the way up to 15 per application. So these are K through 12 schools, and again, they should be new school sites. So these can be schools that CIS was in previously, but they should not have been served for the past year. So actually that would be this current school year. But maybe 5 years ago, you were providing services at a school and then needed to leave because of lack of funding or different direction, caused you to go elsewhere, and so you had to stop providing services in the school site. This could be an opportunity to re-enter that school. Folks can propose a graduated expansion plan, and this is really outlined in page 5 of the RFP. But initially, if you want to propose a graduated plan, as long as you're going into 65% of your school sites in that first year, to 80% in the second year, and then by year 3, you would be 100% expanded. School sites should be Title I eligible, or for high schools, we're allowing high schools that are not Title I eligible if they can demonstrate their community need. On the application, there is some space where you can do that. So the rationale behind that is that we understand that high school reporting can be somewhat inaccurate around Title I eligibility. So in order to speak to that, we want to allow folks the opportunity to demonstrate community need in other ways if that's needed. But again, that's at the high school level. Also, encouraging expansion into low-performing schools. So that is something that we'd like to see as well. If you're wondering about if your potential schools are considered lowest performing, it sounds like the best place to go to find that information is your State Department of Education website, and just know that that might be labeled as improvement schools or something similar. Again, this is for school years 1920, 2021, and then 21-22. Implementing a cost share matching model for this grant. So the grant will cover 40% of the project cost. So we ask that your match be committed or secured by the project start date, which is anticipated for July of 2018. So in the grant application, you'll notice on the budget template, I believe it asks for the sources of your match. So we are not requiring for you to get those secured by the time you submit your proposal, but by the project start date, they will have to be in line. And public dollars are required to be part of your match. So public dollars can be a variety of different things. This could be district or other local funds. It could look like things like state appropriation dollars, or at the federal level, it might be WIOA funds or SNAP funds. Again, any way you want to mix and match that, we just want to see some public dollars there as part of your match. And we're not requiring a certain percentage either to be coming from public sources, but we do want to see some public funds there as part of your match. Okay, these are our funding priorities. I'm sure you've seen these in the RFP by now. So these 4 funding priorities align to the CIS theory of change. And again, this is all outlined in section 3 of the application as well as page 3 of the RFP. Essentially, these are challenges and opportunities that the challenge schools will propose to address and tackle. So it's important to note that you don't need to respond to every priority, and not every school may be faced with each challenge. So for example, maybe all of your expansion sites are dealing with absenteeism, and you may choose to only respond to priority 1, and you'll simply have a very robust response to that issue. An important distinction there. And then section 4 of the application is where you really go into your response to these priorities and how you're going to use a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens to do this work. So priority 1 is about chronic absenteeism rates, and application includes that you provide a clear definition of how you are defining chronic absenteeism. Priority 2 is about improvement to school climate, and school climate includes things like student engagement, restorative justice, social learning, and student-centered learning. Priority 3 is about the opportunity gap among diverse student groups. So this is really about discrepancy around graduation rates, test scores, college enrollment, essentially around students from diverse backgrounds. And then priority 4 is opportunities for college and career readiness and civic engagement. So maybe some of you are proposing to expand into new schools that are really ripe around strategies and potential partnerships to build a college-going culture and expand opportunities for civic engagement. All right. So some additional commitments. The CIS research team is going to be conducting a study to determine the impact of this work. And section 12 of the application really reviews this in detail, but I wanted to provide some of the highlights here. So grantees will be asked to implement relevant assessments with students. So this includes the SEED and the DR 360, your middle school and high schools are part of this project. These materials will be accessible on SISDM, and we will provide training and resources around how folks can administer these assessments, but they will be a required component of this grant. These will need to secure data sharing agreements with their schools to collect data around attendance, behavior, and course performance. Grant will participate in the research component that will include interviews, focus groups, and obtaining necessary research applications that might be required from your district. These will also use SISDM or other approved statewide systems to collect data. These will also need to identify a point of contact that will work closely with the CS research team. And grantees will participate in a planning phase, which will include just attending informational webinars hosted by CIS National and coordinating any research-related documentation that might be needed. Okay, so complete application. Hopefully you have found all of these documents by now, but everything related to the RFP is posted on the National Resource Center. So if you've done the NRC, and I'm assuming you have if you've got linked up to this webinar today, but there is a rotating banner on the NRC homepage, and there's also a link to all the materials on the quick resources column there on the right. So application materials include the RFP, the request for proposals, the intent to apply, which is due October 8th, and I want to mention that the intent to apply is not mandatory. However, we really appreciate it and strongly encourage you to submit the intent to apply. It seriously probably takes you 30 seconds. Yeah.
it'll just give us a better idea of what the volume is going to be on the back end.
Yeah. So in order to meet kind of the timeline that we've proposed and to make sure that we're able to announce awards by the end of the year, which is what we really would like to do, it'll help us kind of stay on track with that. You can also find the actual application and the budget template, which is an Excel document. And those application and the budget are due November 13th. And the budget template, again, it's an Excel document, and you just attach it to the application. There's instructions on there. It's very simple. And then we have an FAQ document. We had already anticipated questions from you guys, so we already had an FAQ document primed and ready for you. So if you haven't checked it out yet, we encourage you to do so. And we will be updating the FAQ document on a regular basis. It will probably be updated actually sometime this week, possibly Tuesday or Wednesday, based upon the questions that we get today. So make sure you visit that FAQ document frequently. And just a quick view of the application if you haven't taken a peek yet. It is an online form, and you can save it and return to your work at a later time. So as you can see, there's 12 different sections. The screenshot on the left shows you the 12 sections of the application. When you save it, as you can see the screenshot on the right, you'll get a link to the proposal. Will be emailed to you, and you can actually share that link with other folks. So maybe you want your finance team to work on a certain section, or your development team to work on the section around sustainability. You can simply share the link with others, and they can work on the document. The application also provides point values for the different sections. So if you're curious about that, you can take a look at the application and see the different point values. So real quickly before we open it up for questions, the timeline, again, the intent to apply is October 8th. Proposals are due Tuesday, November 13th, and due dates include an 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline. So sorry, folks on the West Coast, you miss out by 3 hours, but we ask that things be submitted at that time. Awards will be announced in December, and then we're anticipating issuing SRAs, and those first payments will be dispersed by July of 2019. Right, so with that, we will go ahead and open it up for questions, and I just want to a reminder here, if you have a question later on that you don't think of right now, you can always email it to cischallengeschools@cisnet.org. Otherwise, you can float your questions in now by typing them in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and we'll gladly unmute you.
We do questions? Okay, so for joint proposals, any project budgets, current operations budgets, and audits should be included, assuming it's just the lead organization. I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, I think we would only need one. Again, we would sub-grant to the primary organization, and they would be responsible for financially administrating the grant to their partners who they're applying with.
Any other questions? Okay. One question is, how committed is committed if the funder said if awarded we will make a grant?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a pretty good commitment. If you have a letter from a funder saying that that they are committing.
And I want to bring up the timeline again. We can talk just a little bit about why we've left so much time between the award and the first payment. We recognize that folks are going to be making their best effort in the submission when they submit their proposals on November 13th. And, you know, we know it's an ongoing dialogue with your district in terms of the schools that you hope to go into at that time. So what we're hoping to do between December and July is get very solid in terms of your commitment, both on the cost share and obviously the schools, but also the other pieces of the that are going to be required in the research part of the work. So that's why we've left it almost 6 months, nearly 7, to really hammer out all of those details. And you know, the reviewers that will be doing the work of reviewing the applications are be looking for the evidence, past evidence of able to implement the model and working with your school districts. And the evidence is going to weigh into our ability to trust that you're able to do this with this investment. So we've outlined here that it's our intention to have the first payment by July of 2019, but the good news is we have the resources in hand, and if you have to have onboarding and training that happens before that, it's open to negotiating when that first payment would to be made in order to meet the needs of your community. It will be the same amount annualized. That folks who get their first payment maybe a little earlier than others. It doesn't mean that they have an advantage in terms of the dollar amount, but it may be for certain folks who either start school in July or have an August start date that they may need to onboard folks sooner rather than that July date. But we're really, one of the reasons to have this long way is to negotiate and solidify the plans that you make in the fall with your school district.
Yeah, and section in the application that kind of references what Kathy was talking about is section 6, your proven capacity.
Yeah.
That's really an opportunity to kind of spell out your ability, you know, to do this work. And just to clarify too, with the application, you don't need to submit any letters of support at this time, so that's not needed. So yeah, to clarify that too.
We do have one question. So Hank has a question. He has his hand, so I'm going to unmute him.
Sure.
Right.
Kathy and Megan and Carissa, thank you all so much for doing this webinar, and I hate that we couldn't be together at Town Hall to be able to all yell and laugh together. So it's just really amazing that the development team was able to bring this together. So I have a question to clarify. Forgive me if this was spelled out somewhere. I didn't see it. I understand that this is not for the purpose of creating new affiliates, and I definitely appreciate that. If a state office is providing the direct service but in a new school district, would that be open for this?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Great.
Yep. State offices that aren't well. That wasn't the question. Your question is, and it's our hope that the whole point of this opportunity is to get into new schools. So if you're going into a new district or a new community across the state, I think that is completely ineligible ask.
Wonderful. Thank you all. I can't wait. Even if Tennessee doesn't end up winning this, we're going to see what investments happen around the country and learn from them. So thank you all.
Great. Thank you.
We do have one question in the chat box.
Sure.
How was the number of schools for growth determined? 6 minimum to 20?
Yeah, so it's 6 to 15 is the number of schools to expand to. How that was determined, I think it's so that we get to our goal of 125 over the next 3 years.
Yep, and to give enough of a range so that what we learned in the growth communities, some of you may be familiar with the growth and impact strategy, where we had 7 growth communities that were selected to go into 10 schools. And it was hard and fast 10, and that number was a reach for probably 2 out of the 7. Or in the beginning of the grant, it looked like they could all do 10, but for a couple of them, it's been a bit of a reach. And it also was clear to us that it needed to be there needed to be a graduated approach to bringing on new schools. Folks think that the 6 is too much. With our partnership with our researchers in-house, it was a number that, there would be something to learn from their experience in a community where we had 6 schools within a district or within a geography, so that we could see if there's any effect of what we were doing. So a combination of learning a bit from our growth and impact application to what our friends in the research at the house. So the number of schools that we're going to consider in terms of the application is as few as 6, as many as 15. And so if we get all of the applicants come in at 6, we anticipate 20 awards. If the applicants all come in at 15, we anticipate that would be 8 awards. And so it's our hope that the mix of awards represents our network. So we're looking for a mix of rural, urban, suburban, state offices within this opportunity, so that we are able to see what the effect is in all of those different types of places across the country within our geographic footprint. And the main goal here is to serve more students, to reach 125 new schools, and to reach a number of over 62,000 students. We have an overall goal during the strategic plan to reach 300,000 students, and this is a nice big portion of that growth stream through this opportunity. Nothing else?
Nope, nothing else in the chat box.
Okay.
No other folks are raising their hands.
Yeah, we had still a number of people, and so last time, so that's probably why we had so many questions. And the FAQ is going to be updated based on the last webinar that we did last week, and then the questions that have been raised today. And as they come into that CIS Challenge Schools, CISnet.org, it will be updated. And we really encourage anyone who has maybe a 50%, in your mind, you think 50% likely that you'll apply, really would appreciate knowing and having you fill out the letter of intent. It's a very quick form that will allow us to get just a little bit better intel on what the scale will be in terms of the applications on our end. So look forward to seeing what to apply for and being able to serve more students with high quality integrated student support. So
super. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.
We look forward to reading your proposals.
Bye-bye.